Hi.
Mhm.
Are you on?
Almost.
Says we're live.
We're live and we are ready to go. I'm super excited to be here. I'm Amanda Patterson,
And I'm Rachel Needle.
and we are ready to jump right in. And today's topic, we're going to be talking about the mistakes that are made when you're starting a smart practice. So, as always, we are going to be jumping back and forth. We're going to be answering any questions that you have, whether it's live or we're going back. And so let us know and we'll answer those questions. And we have some mistakes we're going to go over with you today. And so we're excited to be here.
So, going into private practice, a lot of people think, okay, I'll just, whether they're going to go online, I'll just, set up what I need, the products I need, or in person, I'll rent a space, got that taken care of. And then all will kind of just happen. I think both Amanda and I think that you kind of need a plan. So whether you write a full business plan, right? I know you're not business people, although we can help you do that, right? Or, at least have some sort of outline of what your plan is and going into practice. And that means that you have to look at the money you're going to make, how you intend to get clients, and all the little details of, will you take insurance? What will you do? You have to figure all of that out from the get-go. And so one of the mistakes is not having a clear set plan. So, Amanda, I know you have a lot to say about that one.
I'm so excited to start talking. So yes, I'll go. I'm ready to do my thing, right? So I am so for those of you who know me, whether it's professionally or personally, like I am a planner. I plan all kinds of things. It's a strength that I have. I don't know where it comes from. It's just like the way my brain works. And I am a strong believer in having a plan when you go into private practice. I've done workshops on this exact topic of business planning where we create a solid business plan going through the whole nuts and bolts of building a business plan. It's really the first thing I think you need to do when you're thinking about going into private practice before you've even done anything else. Because when you build a business plan, it really gives you the blueprint for your entire path. And so if you are thinking about going into private practice, or you're new to private practice, or heck, you've been in private practice a long time and you don't have a business plan, I would encourage you to join us on our webinar, because we're going to be going through the beginning parts of a business plan, which is really looking at your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's something that really is a fun activity. It's an activity that really pushes you outside of your comfort zone, because not everybody's really comfortable identifying their strengths. Therapists are really struggle with identifying strengths. They can tell me all their weaknesses, but when I sit down and say, give me your strengths, they're like, no, I don't want to. And so it's really a great activity to put down on paper. And then from there, really take a look at, from all of the things that you're good at, maybe you're not so good at, identifying your goals. And when you write out your goals, it's the same exact when we write out treatment plans for our clients. It's our roadmap for treatment. We have to create a roadmap for your private practice. And when people don't have a clear plan for either their private practice or some component that they're adding to their private practice, whether you're adding workshops, you're adding supervision, you're adding that multiple stream of income, you need to have a plan around that, or you're just going to be like, flapping in the wind, not knowing where you can go, what your potentials are, what your metrics are, and what your short-term and long-term goals are around your business.
And it doesn't mean that you can't change your plan, right? You can have a starting off point, and that's the most important thing. And then you can look at what's working, what's not working. And then you can also decide, okay, I would like to add this. So, going in when I started my practice, I don't think I thought, okay, I'm then going to go in a group, and then I'm going to, create this continuing education provider company. And then I'm going to branch off and create this other one, right? These things I didn't start off with the plan of like, 8 multifaceted businesses, right? I started off with one thing and then I started adding, and I'm like, here are the things that I enjoy. Here are the things that I'm good at. How can I bring these together? And I think it's really important to figure that out, because if you don't know your strengths and if you don't know the things that you enjoy, it's going to be harder to figure out what that path is. Because we all know that if this is going to be what we're going to do long term, we have to enjoy it, you know? And I knew, for instance, for me, that I never wanted to see the 40 hours a week. That wasn't my end goal, right? That may be what started to make me the money that I needed to get to the other places, but that was never my end goal. I knew that I loved teaching. I knew that I loved business. I knew that I did enjoy seeing clients and I loved doing that. And I never wanted to lose that. So I was then able to create the businesses that I wanted, including the practice and the group, because I then knew what else I wanted to do. I wanted to teach. So I created an outlet for that. So you have to have a plan and know yourself, and it doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be what you're going to do in 10 years the first day that you're doing it.
I love what you said about this is a working document. When you have a plan in place for your practice, it isn't in place forever. Just like we teach our clients to be flexible, we have to be flexible, right? We have to pivot at times. We have to shift gears. We have to go down different paths. Things work and then they don't work, or they don't work and then they work. And so, kind of knowing that and putting that down on paper is going to be really important, because it's going to really give you, again, that roadmap to running a successful private practice and making money and bringing on additional clinicians when you're ready. Or if you just want to create a business plan, you want to make a plan for yourself that is just for a solo practice. You're going to work 20 hours a week, and that is your heart's desire, and that's what you want to do. That is also a-okay. You don't have to have a big dream, but if you do, we can support you around that too, right? But even for a lot of people, just getting those first 20 clients, having a full load is really, it can be really challenging. And a lot of people, again, I think when Rachel and I both sit down with people, we coach people, we say, like, how are you going to get clients? What is your marketing going to look like? What systems do you have in place? What electronic health record are you going to use? What phone system are you going to use? Like, all of these pieces. And a lot of times those pieces aren't ready for people. They don't know what they're going to use. And that is a part of, planning, is knowing all the nuts and bolts. I usually have some kind of systems plan or systems goal when I write down my business plans or shift my business plans. Oh, I can't hear you, Rachel.
Sorry, I muted you because I had work going on. My bathroom's being redone and I heard the drilling. Sorry.
That's okay.
So it's really important that you have that plan and realize that you can make shifts to it. And we're going to help you with looking at, on the webinar, like Amanda said, she's going to help you look at those different things and how to set goals and really create that plan. So I think some other mistakes that people make are wanting to do therapy, but not actually run a practice. Now, this is one I see a lot, right? And I get it. A lot of therapists, they're not business people to start out from. And I always use this funny example that, like, the therapists in my office are incredible, but I always joke that when I walk in and, like, I see that, like, lights have been left on, like a light in the back has been left on. And I'm like, this is the kinds of things you think about when you're a business owner. Shut it off, because otherwise my electric bill goes up. You have to start to think like a business person, right? Everything you're doing is costing you or making you money. What can you do to make the making the money be more, right? That side of it be more. One of those, like I said, is to shut off the lights when you're not using a room, right? So look at how to be more efficient in all of those ways. And you have to start to think like, not just like a therapist, right? Most therapists have trouble with the money conversation, period. I remember the first time I had to ask a client for money. I think I forgot the first 2 sessions. I didn't even take money from her, So that's sort of how it starts out. And then, you start to have better conversations about money. You start to be able to think about what you want to make, how you're going to make it, how you're going to get there, as opposed to just doing therapy. Now, that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with people that want to do therapy, right? And they don't want to run a business, right? I wouldn't have a group practice if there weren't people like that. There are plenty of people that want that, but if you want to start your own business, you have to think like a business person.
It's so funny that you talk about the lights because mine is probably ink. Like when you said the lights, for me, lights, that I think we don't do that. Like that's like something that's usually off. So like that's not the thing in our office. It's like for me the ink. It's like always like we need ink, and where's the ink? We need more ink. And like any business owner will tell you, like ink is expensive, and I'm like I do not want to order ink. I'm like we use an electronic health record. We use therapy notes. All the documents are sent through the portal. They're signing them there. Like copy and paste
Printing.
yeah, like what are you printing? Like if you need to send your client something, like send them the link, to whatever it is. And so it's really funny, but that's the truth. Like you start to look at things like how much your supplies are, how much you go through every single month, how like the toilet paper volume, the coffee volume, whatever it is that you have at your office. It's like you start to think about all of those things, and then you start to see like, okay, here's our it's our revenue is increasing, but our costs are increasing. So you always want to work on, like Rachel, you said, like increasing revenue but reducing costs, so that way there's money there instead of like more revenue, more costs.
And I think it's important, like you say, the printing thing, and that one resonates with me so much too. And I think, like, as a business owner, you will start to hopefully start to question, like, is it a huge deal that a line is a little crooked, or that I forgot to put a line somewhere on that print? Do I need to print the 8 pages over because of that? And when you're the one spending the $100 on ink, right, for yourself, you'll start to think about, I don't really need to print that for the fourth time, you know? And I think these are things that as a business person, I think about, what do I need? And, I do want to say though, that, I'm a big believer that you also have to spend money to make money at times also. So I'm not saying that I'm not cheap in any sense of the word. I'm a big fan of spending money, because if you're making more money, then why not spend it if it can help you make more, right? So, but you have to look at when it's important to do that, and when it will actually help you to make more money, as opposed to just being an extra cost that does nothing for your business.
So where this stands out for me is a part of my business plan for my or for my group practice was we really wanted our practice, and we moved into a new space 1 year ago. We really wanted it to be inviting. We wanted the space is clean, it's well decorated, it's really comfortable. People feel really connected there. And one thing people rave about is the coffee. We have a Keurig up at the front. We have a variety of coffees. We do like Christmas coffees around, the holidays. And I try to get a variety of coffees. I'll even take some requests. And so that is a cost. Anybody that has a coffee machine knows, like, you need coffee cups, you need stirrers, you need creamers, you need sugar. Then you need like Splenda, because not everybody uses sugar. And, you've got you've got to do a variety. You can't just get like the cheapest one. Because that coffee isn't good. And so that aligned with my business plan, right? I knew a part of my business plan was to create a safe and inviting environment. And so one way that we do that is coffee. It's not ink, but it is coffee. And that really makes our clients feel really safe. They know the coffee's there. They know we're taking care of them. They know that it's a place to get their needs met, I think, is how I would reframe that. And so it aligns for my business plan to have coffee. We actually don't give snacks, but other practices do give snacks, and that would align to their business. I would hope that it aligned to their business plan. So decisions that we make for our practice are directly related to the business plan. So I can give you 1,000 examples of that, but that's really one that really stands out is the coffee. And so, like Rachel said, it's not about being cheap. It's about knowing what your goals are, knowing what your plan is, and making decisions that align with your plan.
Absolutely. And I think that you have to decide what kind of office you want to run and what's important to you. For some people, having snacks and drinks and coffee is very important to their mission, and for others, it's not. So I think that's just something that, and it doesn't mean, I don't have it in my waiting room, right? So I think that it's what works for you and what's in line with what you want your structure to look like. Um, so another mistake. I don't know if you want to kind of start with the next one.
No, you're doing great. I'll follow your lead, and then we'll check in on questions. So, any of you jumping in a little later, let us know what questions you have, and we'll go ahead and answer those.
So another mistake that people in private practice make is not understanding marketing and branding. So this is a huge one, right? We're not marketers and we don't expect you to be marketers, but you have to understand marketing, some strategies. So you can choose to, and this is a huge topic, which we go on and on in our course about, right? Like we have 2 modules devoted to this. There's a lot of different marketing strategies, some that cost money, some that don't cost money. I don't think any are better. I think a combination is a good way to go. But in doing things right, you may spend money, for instance, on a nice website. You may not, and choose to just use Psychology Today and to do a bland website, something you could kind of create on your own, right? You may choose to, but there's a lot of different options, I guess is my point. And we'll go into those specifically, but not understanding anything about it and just thinking that you're, again, we talked about this last week, going to hang your shingle and people will come is a huge mistake, especially in our area. And it also depends on your area. We have so many mental health professionals in our area. I mean, where I went to school, Nova itself, my doctorate program had over 100 people a year graduating in the doctorate. And then they also had their marriage and family and their master's in counseling. Like we pump out, Nova itself pumps out hundreds every year, more therapists, and a lot of them stay in the area. So it's hard to build your practice if you don't know what you're doing a little bit. So it's important that you learn a little bit about marketing, and you can choose 1 or 2 areas to learn about, and that will be fine. But you have to do something.
Yeah, I think if you choose 1 or 2 areas, you have to do it like as at a full expression, right? Like you can't just sort of like dial it in and post every so often on Facebook and put a website up and expect that people are going to just be calling you because you have a website or because you answer something in a couple of Facebook groups or something like that when people are looking for referrals. That you really need to set yourself apart, and that you need to let people know in a big way that's authentic, again, to you, that you exist, that you're taking clients. And to wrap it back around, so I know when you are making a business plan, especially when you're first starting, one of your goals probably needs to be growth, right? Because growth it encompasses a growth of revenue, growth of clients, growth of um, anything related to building your practice. And so when you're in the growth phase, a part of the growth is you're going to need strategies to grow. So if you are a solopreneur, you're just starting out, you have 3 clients and you want to go to 15, that is maybe your goal. Go from, 3 clients to 15 clients. That's your goal. You're going to need to create strategies on how to do that. You can create free strategies or you can do paid strategies, depending on how quickly you want this to happen. Just like when creating our treatment plans, we incorporate SMART goals. When you're creating a business plan, you're also incorporating SMART goals. You want them to be time oriented. You want to do this in 6 months. Well, you probably need to check after 3 months how your free marketing is going, and if you're not where you need to be to hit your goal. So let's say you wanted to hit 15 clients after 6 months and you had 3, so you need 2 new clients a month that you retain. So you probably need to book maybe 3 clients a month to account for attrition. So if you spend 3 months only doing free marketing, right? You go to workshops, you hand out your business cards, you connect with people on Facebook, you put up a Facebook page, you put a couple links there, you share some things, and you're only getting 1 client a month. You need to pivot your marketing because you're not going to reach your goal after 6 months, right? So you're going to need to change your strategies. You're going to need to change what you do in order to reach those goals. And so that's where paid marketing might come in. So that's how you tie all of your goals back to your plan and what you do for your strategies, and whether you want to pay $2,500 for a website and get it up right away and have it up there, or you want to pay for Google AdWords, or you want to have your website and write blog posts, right? And so you always want to think back to what is your plan, what is your plan, what is your plan? and making sure that you're incorporating goals related to marketing and branding.
So you can, and I think what Amanda's saying too is right. So you have your choice. You could pay for all of these different things, and that would save you time. Or for free, you could create these blog posts that have certain wording in them that are words that people search for. And the more content you pump out and get out into the world, right, the more people that are going to visit your site, the more people that are going to know who you are. So that's a free marketing strategy, but one that takes a little bit of time. You have to weigh, right? There are some things I do that I say, like, I really want my voice in this. I really want to put this out. This is something that I think is important. And I take the time to write it, right? Or take the time to do a live or a video. And then there's other things that I'm like, you know what? I don't have the time for this. If I spend an hour doing that, that's, $400 worth of my time. I'm just going to pay somebody to do that. And it's a lot less than if I would have put the time into it.
So I'm going to jump in and see if there's any questions here going on. A couple people are saying, hello, passion doesn't pay the bills. That is very true.
But can I say something about that? So passion doesn't pay the
Yes.
bills. You're right. But passion, people see passion, right? And passion gets people to you, and those people pay you money. So yes, it's not going to pay the bills itself, but people see how passionate I am about things. And then let's say, like, one of my specialties is sex and relationship. I'm very well known for that. People know that I'm passionate about it. They know that's what I do. I would say 9 times out of 10, when there's something in my community, right? And West Palm Beach is pretty big, that has to do with it, I am somebody that they reach out to. As a result, I get calls from potential clients. At this point, unless it's a personal referral, I don't take more people really. So I then give them to other people in my practice. But a lot of times people are saying, no, we want you. We saw you on this. We heard you, heard you on this station. We read your article on this. You're the person that we want. So it doesn't, but people see, it doesn't pay the bills, but people will see your passion. And for some, not everybody, some people will be very drawn to that passion. And so I think that it sometimes can pay bills. I think because I'm so passionate, that's what got me to the place that I am.
And I think the cool thing about being a therapist, a psychologist, and whatever your degree is in, is that we have to have some passion for this, right? And that we're sort of lucky that our passion can pay bills, in the sense, like, if you are passionate about a certain population, or you're passionate about a certain treatment, or you're passionate about a certain modality, that you can get trained, you can get certified, you can create marketing, you can create branding, and you can become the, sex therapist in West Palm that everybody goes to, or you could become, the, anxiety therapist that, you rank for number 1 on Google on a consistent basis. And so there are ways that when you take your passion for mental health and you take your passion for helping people, can really help you to make money in the long run.
Absolutely. So do we have any questions?
Nope, just a couple of shout outs. So hello to everybody who's joined us. We're happy you're here. And so I'll check it back in about 10 minutes and see what other questions we have. So what's our next mistake that people make when trying to start or starting their smart practice?
For some people, staying limited in their scope of practice. So not thinking outside the box. So thinking we're just going to open and have 40 clients a week and that's all we want to do. So and this is one of the things we're going to talk about in the webinar is, I'm going to present to you a spreadsheet that will help you look at how much you'll make depending on what you charge for the number of clients that you want to see a week, right? A lot of people don't want to see 40 hours of clients a week, right? It is incredibly taxing. And I know people that see more than that, right? They work on Saturdays too. It is very draining. So one of the mistakes people make is they limit themselves. And they don't think outside the box in terms of other sources of income. And as a therapist, there are a lot of different things that we can do. When we see people one-on-one, that is what it's a direct correlation, time, money. We only make money if we're spending our time. We want to get to the point where you are making money even when you are not actively spending your time doing something. And I know there are plenty of people that say there's no such thing as passive income. I disagree. right? I think there are a lot of things that you can create as semi-passive income that you'll have to update and you'll have to do things to. And absolutely, much of the stuff that you will do, you will have to keep up in some way, whether it's keep up your website, keep up the content, or continue to market, whatever it is. There are some things, and I know this because I have those things that are passive income. I created them. They sit, they don't change, they're still relevant, and people still buy them. So I think that there are ways to do all of these things, and in combination get to the point in the place that you want to be, to make the kind of money you want and work the number of hours you want to work.
Yeah, I think that, we've talked about this before, but like grad school didn't teach us the business side of things. It didn't teach us to think outside of the box. I really credit things like Facebook groups, social media that's really helped people to think outside of the box and not just limit themselves anymore, right? We have so many tools at our disposal to be able to create multiple streams of income, like really like online courses. That's a really big one, whether you do it like business to business or business to consumer. So whether you sell, a course to other therapists, or you sell, an anxiety course or some kind of course to, the general population, that's really popular. Workshops are really popular. And these are things that, again, if you make a plan for yourself and you see that you have this great opportunity, right? You live in an area where other people aren't doing workshops. You live in an area, you have a social media presence, and you realize, like, yes, I can build out a course. I have 10,000 Instagram followers. I can now use that. That's an opportunity that I have to build out a course for anxiety, right? There are some really amazing things that therapists are doing nowadays that are not just doing one-on-one therapy anymore. And that has created a lot of income. I'm really excited for Rachel to do her piece on finances, again, because it is something therapists are not comfortable talking about. They're not comfortable charging their worth. We polled people, I think 2 times ago, like, which side were they at? Like, comfortable asking for their rate or not comfortable? Most people were not comfortable asking for their rate. And so I think that if you get comfortable with your own finances, knowing what you need, knowing what you want, then those conversations will be much easier, because you're going to be advocating for yourself to live the lifestyle that you want.
And listen, I think it's really important to do things like have opportunity to do pro bono work, to slide your fee. I'm a big fan of giving back. But for the most part, right, my fee is $250 for a 50-minute session. That doesn't change, right? My time is valuable right now. I don't see a ton of clients in person at this point, 10 a week or so, because I'm not taking new people unless they're personal referrals. I have other people in my office that I can give it to, and I still, they work as part of my practice. So it benefits me. But if someone calls and, can't pay my fee, I offer them someone else. If someone absolutely wants me and they can afford me but weren't wanting to pay that much, then they're going to choose to see me. I say that because I'm very clear on, this is my fee, right? It doesn't change. I don't have the ability right now to slide that fee. And I'm confident that I'm that good. I can charge that and I can get it, because I do. I guess the reason I say it in the way that I do is because I do also give back. So for instance, if I know based on our conversation that that's a struggle for somebody, I won't let them come in and see me for a session. I just won't. I will get to the point where I will have, hopefully not convinced them, but gotten to the point where they trust that I've trained other people in my office and that they will be just as good as me. Right? Because I don't want somebody coming to me for a session or two and then being super stressed about money and not being able to see me again. To me, that's a disservice to them. But I stick clear on how much I charge. And if someone ultimately wants to see me, that's what they pay.
And I think that the, talking about sliding scale and pro bono, that can be a part of your practice, right? You may decide that you want to donate 10% of your profits every year to a nonprofit that you're really passionate about. Or you might decide that you want to do a certain amount of pro bono work for this organization that you are passionate about. And so there are a lot of ways that you can take your passions, take what you're excited about, take that guilt we feel about charging 150, 200, 250 an hour, right? And put it into something different so that you can absolve your own guilt, right? And give back in a way that feels really good to you and that aligns with your business plan. So let's check in on our group, my private practice collective. Let's see. Hey, Eileen, Deborah. Let's see who else is here. Sometimes it's a little funny the way that these come in for me. And so
I
we
am
are,
curious what some mistakes other people think they've made in their practices.
yeah, let's talk about the mistakes. I
What are
can
some
tell a
mistakes you
mistake
made?
I've made. Oh my goodness. So I'll never forget this mistake. It was when I first started out and I didn't know that much about marketing, right? When I started in 2013, this was kind of when like I would say the internet was just starting. That's not what I mean, but like Facebook groups, it wasn't a thing, right? And like you had to like private message people if you had questions, and there really wasn't like all the consultants were just getting started, like the new ones, right? I think there were some older ones that like had been around for a while, but they were still kind of like old school. So these are like the new school people. So I didn't really know much, and so I took out an ad. It was like $500 to have my name, like, on some kind of like sports team. I can't even remember the details now. And so, my name and my phone number on some kind of sports team giveaway or shirt or something that they did. And it was like a complete like waste of money, right? Like it was $500. It didn't get me not one referral. It didn't raise my awareness in any kind of way, and I didn't know any better, right? Like I just did it. And I really wish I would have like taken that $500 and like I don't know what then, because I like Google AdWords was a thing, but it wasn't like I don't even know if it was a thing back then. I can't have to like it's not even that long ago, but so much has changed since then. But that was definitely like $500 that like went down the drain. I never saw that money again. And it's like the mistake that has sat with me this whole time.
That's funny. Anybody on here have any mistakes you've made? It's funny. I haven't made that mistake, Amanda, but I've definitely sponsored. My niece was on a softball team, and I sponsored it for that. So all the shirt said my, Whole Health Psychological Center on it, and I knew that I wasn't going to get referrals from there. I just chose to help her out. She
Yeah,
was
and I
so
think that
proud.
there are times when we put money into things that we know are not going to be direct referrals, but they're like for good faith. And
Yeah.
yeah, of course, that this was like some marketing company called me. The guy probably got like $100 for everybody that they he signed up. And it's just one of those things. And so we all make mistakes, whatever those mistakes look like, in the long run. And some are benign, and some, costs a lot of money. I mean, back then, $500 was a lot of money to me, but now I put things into perspective, and I built up other ways, and it's that $500 is, feels like one of those, a part of the game, that we play. Somebody asked a question: do you charge different for an initial mental health assessment versus hourly? And then another question: what are the first steps to somebody starting out their private practice? So you want to answer the question about charging maybe separately?
Sure. So everybody does things differently. I don't charge any different for my time. No matter what somebody's coming in for. If it's, I know some people charge different. If it's a couple, $250 is for my 50-minute session, the end, right? I don't do, when I do any sort of evaluation, and I don't do a lot of them. I do like, if I do any, it's mostly substance use disorder, like someone got a DUI or fertility stuff. I charge for my hours as well. So in other words, however long the interview and testing takes, and then I charge for, the report writing time. So again, I'm private pay, so I can do that. I don't see, if it's your time, I don't see why we would charge different rates for different things.
Yeah, we don't normally charge different rates for different services, like in terms of like the hour. So we usually charge the same for initials and same for follow-ups. And then of course the same thing, like we charge different for different reports and those kinds of things. I know some people, depends on what you do though. Like if you are maybe a couples counselor and you provide the Gottman assessment to all new clients, you might charge more to account for that. If there are some kind of assessment tools that you use that are costly, that might make sense for you to do that. But I think that's like a personal preference. I don't think there's any like golden rule about that. But Rachel and I, sounds like neither of us charge separately for that. So I think Natasha asked, what would be the first steps to starting out a private practice? And so it's a good question. And I think it goes in line with everything we've been talking about is it really depends, right? Because do you want to start an online practice? Do you want to start an in-person practice? Do you want to join another group practice? Do you want to, rent space from somebody? Do you want to get your own office? I would really invite you to join us on our webinar because we're going to be going through this. We're really going to be doing some work around what is it that you want, and that will create a plan for starting out a private practice in a way that works for you, because everybody's private practice really looks different. I mean, we can run through some things that you can do and maybe put some links there. I'll let, if Rachel wants to talk about that.
Yeah, I was going to encourage them to go back to the first live we did, I think was the building blocks, right? Where we talked about step by step. If you can't find it, message in here and we'll give you a link to it. But I think Amanda brings up some important points. You have to first look at what is your vision. You have to create what it is you want, and then talk about all the details in terms of getting there. And then once you sort of have this idea, things like naming your practice, getting, just determining what kind of business structure you want to be. Do you want to be in person or online? Getting your employee identification number, which is EIN for short, from the IRS. Like, it goes in check kind of from there. But first you have to create a vision and know what you want to do, what you're looking to get from it, how you want to practice. And we do also have a step-by-step freebie guide on myprivatepracticecollective.com. If you go under freebies, we have a kind of a checklist for getting started.
I'll put a link there. So anybody that wants is catching this on the replay.
Great question.
Yeah, I'll put, because we did make a freebie for this. And so we want to make sure that you get that. I'm gonna go here. And I'm going to go back. I'll put the link here. So for some freebies for you all. Yeah, Kay mentioned she's inclined to charge more for couples. Listen, I hear ya. Like, couples can be a lot of work for those people who work with couples. Most couples therapists tend to be private pay. They have smaller caseloads. They do an hour and a half sessions. They might do sessions twice a week, especially if they're working on things like affair recovery. There's just a lot of things that go into couples. So I think that is not uncommon. That's we have charged separately for couples versus individual because the amount of work that goes into the couple session and because of the length. So that's not also uncommon as well. And so I think it also depends, again, what's your niche? Who do you serve? What kind of tools do you use? What is your practice? All of these different things in terms of, do you charge more or less? All right, so I think we're good on questions. So do we have another mistake?
We can do more mistakes. There's a ton of mistakes, listening to other people without doing their own research. So it's important that you do your own research when you're starting a practice. When you look at the community, what's needed, whether it's niche-wise, how to get started, and be careful who you listen to. I'm really big on that. Like, I think going into this, you have to research the people you're listening to. So Amanda and I, for instance, you'd want to look into, like, who are we to tell you these things and to talk to you about starting a practice and being successful in practice, right? When you research, you'll find out we both are very successful in what we do in multiple businesses. We run successful big group practices. So we started our own, then got going. But again, and I'm not going to go into that. The goal isn't to like hype you up on us, but whatever you're doing and whoever you're taking advice from, marketing advice, branding advice, whatever you're doing, make sure they've done it themselves and that they're really good at it. I've made a lot of mistakes in this area, right? I thought that, I want to say I must have spent a good $25,000 on like people that were, website and social media experts that were going to get you this following and do this. And this was for one of my training companies where I do continuing education. And I did better than they did even when they were employed by me, so I was paying them, $2,000 a month or $2,500 a month, and I'm doing more than them. So it was really frustrating. I thought, okay, let me get some more quotes. Let me pick somebody else. Let me hire someone to do this. And It wasn't the right person either. So I've made a lot of mistakes in not doing my research. And this was way early on, like 10 years ago when I started my first continuing education training company. And I learned from it. And you know what? It's fine because I learned a good lesson. I learned how to research the people that I was going to be working with, get referrals or recommendations from people. And then I learned what I could really do myself and what I really needed somebody for.
So I think for me, my story is a little different and my mistakes are a little bit different in terms of like when I first started out, I like really undercharged because I was told by somebody to charge lower, right? And then I realized like, no, I am definitely undercharging. And that shifted. And then I just grabbed paperwork from wherever. And then that shifted. I actually got like, attorney approved paperwork. And then, you know, um, things like I tried to do like my own website initially, right? And that didn't work. And not that I listened to somebody, but like I felt like I could just do it myself, and or that other people had done it, right? I see other people like I wrote my own website, I did my own website, so you can do it too. And so really like taking some things that people say with a grain of salt and knowing that you have to do your research around whatever it is, like whether it's a company you're going to you're going to work with, if it's a coach you're going to work with, it's a course you're going to purchase, it's the rate you're going to charge, right? Like it's really important not just to listen to what other people say, but do your own research. And especially, listen, there are some really credible coaches out there. There are people that I have paid money to that I trust, my practice with, and that are really, really great. There's a lot of really great people out there. And there's a lot of people out there that are just out there to get your money. I get emails all the time from people like, your website needs this, and your AdWords this, and your social media this, and your this. I love the ones it's like, we can get you on the first page of Google. And what makes me so mad about that is that I'm already on the first page of Google. So if you just would have done a little bit of due diligence, you would have seen I'm already there, and like your pitch would have been different, but they're not doing that. And so I'm just like, delete those emails. But if I were desperate, if I didn't know, I would maybe indulge in that and spend money where it didn't need to spend money.
And I also look at like, if I'm looking for somebody to coach me or to teach me something, I look, do they have, and everybody wants different things. I get that, but do they have the kind of life that I want? So I think that's really important too. What are you looking to get? And look at the people that you're looking to get it from. I honestly think that's one of the biggest mistakes that people make, is spending money and listening to people that, they haven't done their research on, and they haven't, figured out, are these people that have done this for themselves and are where I want to be.
So let's jump in. We're about 15 minutes before the hour. So let's jump in and see if anybody has any questions here. And then what we'll do is we got, I think, one or two more mistakes. We'll go through that. And on the replay, we definitely want to hear from you all. What are your mistakes that you've made? Yes, this is available on the replay. So this will go up and you'll be able to start from the beginning. So really understanding that you need finding the right professionals. Yes. Do they have the life you're working towards? Yeah, we really want to make sure that is the case. So we'll again jump on any comments or anything that anybody has. You can watch us on the replay to catch the beginning marketing tools that we talked about. And Rachel, what's our next mistake?
I think the last one we're going to talk about is ignoring finances and being scared to address them. Again, this is something really difficult for a lot of therapists, and it's an important thing to talk about. If you're going to be in business, you have to talk about money. You have to think about money. You have to plan for money. And I think this is something we have talked about a lot, and we're going to continue to talk about a lot, because it is something that you can't ignore when you're going into practice by yourself, in a group, in alternative streams of income. You have to look at finances and know what you want to make, know what you're going to have to do to get there. And because if you don't have a goal in mind, how do you know if you were successful? How do you know if you did what it is you were starting out wanting to do? You have to be willing to address them. And, again, in our webinar, we're going to really teach you about first practice specifically, how you build that sort of goal and how you look at if you're meeting it.
Yeah, I'm really excited for our webinar because we'll also be answering any questions you all have too. We'll have a part obviously for questions. And so if there are specific things that you want to know about finances, once you make a plan, right? We're going to make a plan all together. I'm going to make one with you. I'm going to join Rachel in that. And, you know, you said, okay, wow, like I realize I can like really only afford an office that's $800 a month, but the one I love is $1,000. Like what could I do? And or like I want to charge 150, but the numbers just aren't matching up. Like what, you know, where could I find clients that are going to pay me $150 a session, or, you know, what can I do to really position myself? So we're going to really jump in there, answer those questions around finances, get you comfortable talking about money. Rachel and I think are both pretty comfortable talking about money. I'm, you know, the money person in my family. I'm the one who, you know, I create the spreadsheets. I've got spreadsheets for my business. I've got spreadsheets for my personal life. And really like knowing what, you know, can we afford 2 things of ink this month? Are we only affording 1 thing of ink this month? Or, you know, are we purchasing it? I don't know if afford is the right word, but are we, you know, really being comfortable with finances and being okay talking about it, being okay with our, you know, finances of the business, and asking people for money, charging, and knowing that you have the plan in place. I think it's one thing, a lot of people get confused about charging what you're worth, right? Like, okay, my fee is 150, and then their marketing isn't up to par, and that they're really not getting people who can afford to pay them $150 an hour. And so they're striking out on a consistent basis. So you really want, when we make that plan and make that both that business plan and that financial plan, that really wraps together. Then if you want clients who are going to pay you 150, 200, $250 a session, that you have a plan for that. And that's not just like, I'm going to charge $150 a session. I know a lot of people who say they charge $150 a session. And then I always want to like follow up and be like, well, how many people pay you $150 a session? How many clients do you have? How often do you slide? And there's nothing wrong with that, but there's a difference of consistently getting your rate, consistently making $10,000 a month, consistently grossing, you know, a large amount every single month, and charging 1 or 2 people $150 a session, which is probably not going to have you reach your goal of a 6-figure practice or a group practice or multiple streams of income, whatever your personal goal is.
So do we have any questions on that? I know it's a lot of information and it's hard to imagine, you know, am I going to charge that much? Am I going to make that much? You know, I'm not a huge fan, Amanda knows this, when people are like, you know, we're going to teach you how to make 6 figures. Not my goal. I want you to learn how to make multiple 6 figures. 6 figures is pretty easy to make if you're doing certain things consistently, which we're going to help you do. But I don't want that to be your goal. I want for multiple 6 figures to be your goal.
Yeah, Rachel and I are ambitious, and we like invite any other ambitious people along with us, like on your journey. I think that's what really like brought Rachel and I together. And it's really, we invite other ambitious people to come with us. So yeah, mistake, not building and planning time in my schedule to make room to create more services that do not see it, do not,
yeah.
That include not, sorry, I'm like, do not include.
Is this a question?
Individual clients. No, it's a comment. It's a mistake. So yeah, you definitely like, you don't want to work 40 hours a week, right? And you're there, you're seeing 40 clients a week, and then wow, you don't have time to do other things like plan your workshops or run your group practice or do, you know, the other things that are necessary for that. And so yeah, I think we've all probably been there in terms of like, you know, when you're first starting, if you like take insurance or you have this really cool niche and you start building up really quick, then it's like, oh, I have like all these clients and now I want to like pivot something that I do. And how do I do that if I don't have the time to do that? I struggle with that at times too, when, you know, running a group practice. So, you know, even as a solopreneur, I think that happens when you get momentum going in your practice.
And you have to make a conscious effort. Put your calendar how you want. So when I say I charge this amount and this many people, there's 2 days that I'm willing to see those clients, right? And obviously if I see people more than once a week and they're too close, then, you know, I'll add that, but not to the detriment of the other things that I want to do to be able to build income streams. So, you know, you can be a little pickier, I think, as you start to be more successful.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you said, when I started, I my first client was on a Saturday for $25. Like, I don't see clients on Saturdays anymore, no matter what, you know? So you can be pickier as you begin to grow. And if that's something that's important to you. So there's a lot of mistakes people make. These are definitely not all of them, but we were hoping to get you kind of started and understanding things that we've seen. We do hope to see you on the webinar on June 1st from 3 to 4:30. Check it out on our website, myprivatepracticecollective.com. And thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you, everybody. We're excited. We'll be here next week too, doing another live. So bring your questions. And for those of you that have any questions, we'll go back and answer them on the replay. See y'all soon.
Thank you.